Hello, I am Judge Jodi Debbrecht of the Waterford District Court in Waterford, Michigan. I've been asked to answer a few questions, and the first one is I want to describe my legal experience. Before I was a judge, I was a court administrator and a magistrate. As a magistrate, I learned early the nuances particular to the bench, individualized treatment of cases, the fine details that come with traffic dispositions and arraignments, and the settings of bonds, among other things. I am skilled at running a traffic court, very familiar with the proper use of radar, breathalyzers, breath tests, and the rules regarding driver's licensing and suspensions, issues that often come before the district court. In addition, I have extensive administrative skills. As a former court administrator, I have expertise in the business of running a courthouse. I am proficient in budgeting and personnel matters. Here is when I began to employ the "we must do more with less" philosophy, and in order to have a more fiscally prudent budget, I even authorized a salary reduction for employees, including myself. I established an aggressive collections program to offset declining revenues and increased costs. After that, I served as a prosecuting attorney, or before that, I served as a prosecuting attorney. I was one of the best at trying and winning cases, and have tried a wide variety of criminal cases: armed robbery, criminal sexual conduct, domestic violence, home invasion, assault with a dangerous weapon, and more. My skills in trial preparation, direct examination, cross-examination, evidence, and advocacy are highly developed. I prosecuted in juvenile court as well. I handled delinquency cases, neglect and abuse, and termination of parental rights. I worked very closely with the Department of Human Services and Child Protective Services. In the process, I learned to be compassionate, professional, and disciplined. Prior to my work as a prosecutor, I worked for the Michigan Attorney General's Office as a Special Assistant Attorney General intern while awaiting my bar results. I worked with the new Child Support Enforcement Unit in Lansing, which employed an aggressive approach to collecting and enforcing criminal laws on outstanding arrearages owed to children and families. Other legal experience includes externing at a prosecutor's office, working as a legal assistant for a juvenile office, investigating child protection orders and filing reports and recommendations with the court, and preparing permanency hearing motions for children and families. I also was asked to participate on an interim committee for domestic violence in the legislature. Here, I worked with local legislators to determine the enforceability of federal legislation on cases involving domestic violence. Further legal experience includes my work as a court advocate, assisting women with ex parte and full orders of protection, guiding them through the criminal process, assisting and training law enforcement on the nuances of prosecuting domestic violence and sexual assault cases, and working closely with local crisis shelters. Before serving as a court advocate, I worked on a law enforcement unit providing legal resources and case management services in conjunction with local police and prosecutors. Even prior to these experiences, I worked as a juvenile officer in a wide variety of areas. First, I began my career as a caseworker in a juvenile detention facility. My responsibilities were to provide case management for detained youth and to serve as an intake officer, where I again investigated cases of delinquency and abuse and neglect, authorizing detention and removal from the home in cases of serious abuse. These were some of my first experiences filing legal pleadings and working directly within the court system. In answering the question about factors to consider in deciding a sentence, the most important factor in deciding a sentence is the protection of the public. Sometimes a defendant is so dangerous that the best option, the one that ensures public safety, is incarceration. In that situation, other considerations are very secondary. Another factor would be potential for rehabilitation. Many defendants can be rehabilitated by the effective use of a probation sentence that utilizes sanctions and treatment as appropriate. I have had considerable success in this area in our sobriety court, our domestic violence court, and the mental health initiative that we employ here at the Waterford District Court. Finally, another important factor is deterrence. A well-thought-out sentence should deter the defendant and others from repeat offenses without being unnecessarily punitive. Another question I've been asked to respond to is how I would handle a situation in which a party in the courtroom is being poorly represented by counsel. And unfortunately, on occasion a party is poorly represented. Sometimes it's a good lawyer having a bad day. Sometimes it's a lack of experience. Usually the matter is best addressed by a conference in chambers with the lawyers for both sides. If a lawyer is court appointed, when justice requires, I will revoke the appointment and bring in a different lawyer. When appropriate, I might even assess costs. I also have a duty to report misconduct to the attorney grievance administrator. Fortunately, though, that is rare. Lastly, I've been asked to answer when I feel an obligation to disclose to opposing counsel that a lawyer has donated to my campaign. First and foremost, I disclose all campaign contributions in writing with the Michigan Secretary of State. Those are available to the public at any time. Typically in an election, lawyers are the primary supporters of judicial candidates, many lawyers. It is unrealistic then to make a record on potentially a large percentage of lawyers appearing before the court. However, I do feel that it is imperative to disclose that a lawyer has donated or contributed when the involvement with my campaign is more than simply writing a check. I have disclosed this in situations where a lawyer not only has made a financial contribution, but is on my committee or has provided other support such as sign locations. I appreciate your time and your consideration in voting for me on November 6th. Thank you.